In today's video, we are going to be talking all about how to breed the freshwater angelfish. As you can see in this tank that I'm sitting right next to, we've already got a spawn of angelfish eggs. I thought today would be a great opportunity to show you guys the process of firstly how I got these eggs, and secondly, how to hatch them out and raise them up into little itty bitty angelfish. Angelfish are a really easy species to produce. They're an egg-laying cichlid, so if you've never bred cichlids before, this could be a really good opportunity for you guys to learn how to breed them. But as you can see here on this leaf of this crypt, these angelfish have laid some eggs. So the angelfish that I have are these beautiful pearl scale angelfish. They're actually a golden pearl scale. And I've raised this pair of angelfish up from fry. So I bred these angelfish and I've grown them all the way out to adult size, and now these will be my F2 angelfish. So these eggs that they have here are my F2s. So when it comes to angelfish, the way you're going to need to breed them is you're going to need to buy about 6 to 8 of them at that juvenile stage. You can buy adults, but it will be a little bit more expensive and you'll probably need about the same amount. What you're going to do is throw them in a big tank like you can see here. So I've actually got a bunch of angelfish in this tank. I've got some big ones in the corner, and then I've got this pair over here that's kind of claimed this side of the tank. So the way angelfish breed is very similar to rams and discus, where they're going to pick out a pair, and that pair is going to pick a spot where they're going to breed. You can condition them up by feeding them high protein flakes. Even live foods like black worms will help them out a lot. And what's going to happen is they're going to choose a spot to spawn. They become sexually mature anywhere from about 6 to 9 months. This is the first time I've seen these fish spawn, so they've just reached sexual maturity, and I'd say that these are about 8 months old at this point. So that can give you guys a pretty good indication of when you can expect them to breed. You need a pair. What I'd recommend doing is picking up some juveniles from the fish shop, growing them out for about 6 months, and then just letting them pair off in a big 4-foot tank. You will need a 4-foot tank for this pair. You can do a pair in a 2-foot tank once they're paired off, but my favourite way to do it is just to throw a bunch of different types into a tank, let them all pair out, and then just pick out eggs as you need them. Luckily enough, as you can see in here, this pair has spawned on this leaf. You're going to need somewhere for them to breed, so what I sometimes recommend using is like a big tile, like a piece of slate, or lots of Amazon swords, or big leafy plants for them to lay on so that you can pull the eggs. Now, there's a ton of different ways to breed these guys. You can leave the eggs in there with the parents and let the parents raise them up into a little fry, and that's pretty amazing to see. But I don't really want to focus on that method today because that's not the method that I use. I would ideally like to do that, but today we are going to be artificially hatching these eggs, which I think is equally as cool. What we're going to be doing is taking these eggs off the parents, because if I leave them in here with all of these other fish, they're simply just going to get eaten. So it's easier to just take these eggs out, hatch them out ourselves, and raise the fry up ourselves. Raising fry is quite easy. I've talked about breeding fish on this channel heaps. It's kind of no different from breeding any of the other species. I'm going to try and make this as easy as possible. Without any further ado, let's have a look at the pair. Okay, so as you can see here, we're looking at the pair. Now, this pair isn't the greatest pair that I've ever played around with. Because they're a young pair, they're not that great at taking care of their babies, and they're kind of neglecting these eggs a little bit. So I think they're a bit skittish because I'm sitting around here and constantly filming them, and it's a bit stressful. When it comes to sexing these guys, it's pretty easy. Males will have a big hump on their head and they'll be a little bit bigger, and then females will be a little bit smaller and a little bit more plump. And the easiest way to tell is when they're mature, the males will have a papilla and the females will have like an egg tube. It's definitely easy to see when they're ready to spawn. What the female and male are going to do is spawn and then constantly go over the eggs, fanning them to keep them oxygenated and keep them clean and free of fungus. So you can see on the eggs there's a little white dot. That white dot is actually an unfertilized egg, and those eggs are going to start to form fungus. Normally, if this pair was a good pair and they were going to take care of their eggs, what they would do is pick off these eggs and make sure the fungus doesn't grow. But what's probably going to happen is if I don't remove these eggs, the pair's just going to eat them and we won't get any babies. So what we're going to do is go ahead and remove these eggs. I've already got a little specimen container here. We're just going to take some of the tank water, so we'll just fill up this container. And then what I'm going to do is come over to these eggs and just take this leaf. So you can see all of our eggs there. And we'll just take them and put them in the container. Okay, so you can see we've got the eggs here in this specimen container. Now we're going to want to make sure that we have no snails here in this tank, because the snails will eat the eggs. So we just want only the eggs and the leaf, or the tile, or whatever you have. Now, for breeding them and hatching out the eggs, the pH will be around 7 to 6.8. That's a really good pH, and the hardness is just like your community soft water. So just like a neutral tap water is really good for hatching these guys out. Now, something that's really important here is to make sure that you have some kind of antifungal chemical within the water. So we're going to need some methylene blue. So I'm just going to add a few drops of this, because what will happen is if you don't add a chemical like this, you're just going to have your eggs fungus over, and there'll be a big fungus layer and it'll infect all the eggs that are fertilized and ruin your entire spawn. So if you don't have this, you can get some malachite green or some hydrogen peroxide. Have a Google around, there's a bunch of different methods you can use to hatch out eggs, but methylene blue is definitely the best. We're just going to need this until the eggs hatch, and then we can slowly start to remove this methylene blue through water changes. That's basically it for how to prep the eggs. Now the only thing we're going to need to do is give these guys an air stone. So we're going to come up here to my egg hatching spot in the fish room. I've got a spare spot up here, so we're going to put the eggs in here. So slide these guys to the back. You can see there's a nice little air stone here, and we're just going to give them a little bit of flow. So not too much, you can see there's just a little bit of bubbling going on in this container, and that's all we're going to need to hatch these guys out. So we're going to give these guys a few days to hatch out, so I'll see you guys in a few days. Okay, so it's been a few more days now and we're back with the angelfish. So these guys have all hatched out now, and you can see that they're little tiny baby fish. They haven't started free swimming, but we're going to transfer them to their next stage of grow out. What we're going to be using for this is my fry system. Now this is going to be a little bit confusing because I know a lot of people won't have a fry system. They're pretty easy to set up, and if you want to breed fish, you probably need one. Like, I'd definitely recommend setting it up. There's heaps of videos online. Just look up Dean's Fish Room fry system and it'll show you exactly what to do. It's really, really good. As you can see, they're just little wrigglers. They haven't started free swimming, but tomorrow or the day after tomorrow, they might start free swimming, and then we'll give them a feed. But what we're gonna do is take this container and pour all the fry into my fry system container. We're gonna be transferring these guys to a container like this. So you can see here, we've just got a plastic container, and then I've attached some screws to the side. So these are just marine grade screws. I've obviously drilled holes in the sides here. And then here, I've got a little piece of sponge here to cover it up. So I've cut a hole out. As you can see there, I've cut a hole out. And then what I've done is cut a piece of sponge with a concave, so it's not fully cut through. And then what I do is just run that piece of sponge through this gap, and that allows water to pass through without straining the fry. So what we can do with a container like this is pump water into the container as well as having a little air stone. And it's going to circulate water throughout the container and keep it really fresh, so we don't have to do water changes. And it works just really, really well. I'm just going to take this container here and put it in. You can see here I've got two little spouts here spouting water into the container. So these will keep the water really fresh in here, and this will just suspend itself up above the water column, and you'll see exactly how this works. Now, if you didn't have a system like this, you could just use a container like I've shown you, hang it up the top of your angelfish aquarium, and all you have to do is just keep it really, really clean. So you'll have to do manual water changes, but the care is going to be the exact same as doing this. Even better than this would be to use something like a fry box, like a hang-on breeder box. That'll work perfectly for these guys. But I do find that circulating water gets you a much better yield. So I'm just going to start adding these fry in. We'll add the remainders. Okay, so we've just introduced all those fry, so we're going to add a little bit of Java moss as well, as this will just be a nice little live plant to let them cling to as they're still wrigglers, and it'll also just provide a little bit of live food. It's just a good thing to add. It helps keep it like an ecosystem, and I just find it's kind of really beneficial. Now that's basically it for today. What we're going to do is leave these guys to develop a little bit more and use up some more of that yolk sac, and then once they're free swimming we can give them some food and we'll really start to see them grow at that point. Okay, so it's now a day later and we're back at the tubs, and the little angelfish have all started to free swim. So not all of them are free swimming, but most of them have started to take off and are looking for their first meal. We're going to start feeding them, and what I have here is some baby brine shrimp that I've hatched out. I've talked about this in previous videos. It's a great live food. It's high in protein, and you should go and inform yourself on how to hatch baby brine shrimp if you want to have success doing this. I've just gone ahead and harvested it, and we're just going to take a single pipette we're going to come over to our container and just drop it in and around all over to try and give these guys a feed. We'll just do this now. It's currently the afternoon, and tomorrow morning I'll also give them a feed, and you really only need to feed these guys twice a day, so once in the morning and once at night. If you don't have this fry system, every single time you feed baby brine shrimp, you'll need to clean the container and put some fresh water in there. Otherwise, I just recommend making this container because you can see it's working perfectly and helping all these guys to start to grow and develop. So I'll catch up with you guys later once they're all free swimming, and I'll show you all of them eating. Yeah, this is probably one of the most exciting parts of the breeding, seeing the little babies start to eat. And yeah, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Okay, so it's now the next morning. We're back with the angelfish, and they've all started to take off and free swim, which is really, really cool to see. There's probably about 250 of them. I don't know. It's quite a lot of them. They're all swimming around, they're all eating baby brine shrimp, and they're all doing really, really well. I just gave them a feeding before, and you can see all their little bellies have gone orange, which means they're filled up with baby brine shrimp. They're all swimming really confidently, which is a really good thing. So it proves that this system does work. It's worth making one of these if you want to breed cichlids properly. Otherwise, like I said, you're going to need to do this with none of the water coming in and just an air stone, and you're going to have to manually clean it. It just takes so long, so I don't really like that system. If you didn't want to do this system, like I said, probably the best next option is to do like a hang-on breeder box, which I've done, and they work pretty well. You just need circulating water. It really helps them a lot. Like, I've raised tetras and I've raised danios and stuff. They don't really need the circulating water. These guys 100% do, because their parents normally would take care of them and corral them around the tank, and we kind of have to simulate that as much as we can when we raise them up in an environment like this. So they're all doing really well. Over the next few days, I'll keep you updated with their growth. They're going to really grow quick, and they're going to turn into little fish. They're going to put on a lot of size really quick, and then we'll transfer them into a grow out tank, and then we'll be done with them. Yeah, really cool to see. I love breeding these guys. Haven't bred them for quite a bit of time. Okay, and so we're back again with the angels, and it's been another 3 or 4 days, and the angels have put on a significant amount of size. So they're actually very big now. At this size, they can actually be put into their final grow out tank. Now, the way I do this is I drain a big 4-foot tank, which is going to be the tank they're pretty much in their whole life. I drain a big 4-foot tank down to about 25% full, and then I add the baby angelfish at this size, and then I just continue feeding them baby brine shrimp, and then I grow them out until sellable size. So what will happen is the tank will be at 25% full, and as they get a little bit bigger, I'll fill it up to about 50% full, all the way until it's 100% full and a full operating 4-foot tank with 200 litres in it, and the angelfish will put on heaps of size. And this way, you don't have to transfer them from a 2-foot tank to a 4-foot tank or transfer them through grow out sizes. It means you just need one big tank, and that's it. So what we'll do is unplug these guys from here, take this container out of its spot, as so. We'll bring it down here, and we'll introduce all these angels in here. Super, super easy. So they're all in here now, and I'll give you a close-up look at some of the fry. Alrighty, so there you have it. This is exactly how I breed all the angelfish in my fish room, and this is probably how I'll continue to do it for indefinite amounts of time. You can see we've got tons of these little cute fry swimming around, and I can't wait to see how they turn out when they grow up to be adult angelfish. So these guys will probably finish their growing out in my new fish room, which will be really cool. Thank you so much for watching this video, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.